Wednesday. It is Mel, and I just want to come to you and share a little bit. So for those of you that don't know me, or if this is your first time watching a video of mine, my name is Chanel Williams, and I am an inspirational speaker. I'm also a marriage and family therapist intern, currently working towards becoming a licensed marriage and family therapist intern. I am also the CEO and founder of Bittersweet Encounters, which is an organization that provides counseling, spiritual mentoring, and also life coaching. And I'm also a mother, both naturally and spiritually. I have three natural children. I'm also a grandmother, and I have three grandgirls. They're hashtag Sweeties Girls, and they call me Sweetie as opposed to Grandma or Granny or Gma or any of those names. So they call me Sweetie. And I'm also a children's social worker. And lastly, I am an aspired author. So yes, so stay tuned for my first release of a book. And when that does happen, I'll let you guys know, and hopefully you'll support. So that's a little bit about me. I wanted to continue on today a little bit from last week. I did a video on who am I, and we talked about um, finding our identity, well, purpose, and how purpose is connected to our identity and knowing who we are. It's my belief that you can't fully be in purpose without knowing who you are, your authentic self. You have to be able to know who you are so that you know what you are called to do and what you're supposed to be doing. And so, oftentimes we don't know who we are, and so I talked about going on the journey of discovery, and finding out who we are. And you can't know who you are unless you get connected with the manufacturer, your manufacturer, the person that created you, which is God. And so God has definitely created us. He said he has a plan and a purpose for our lives, and that plan is for us to prosper and also to have a hope and a future. So God is very much intentional about why he created us. No person here that's existing on earth is just here to exist, but we're here for a purpose. He has a plan, and he said he knew us even before we were in our mother's womb. And so that just lets us know that God definitely has a plan and a purpose. In order to fully walk in our purpose and live what I call the sweet life, the life of purpose, we have to get connected to our creator, our maker. And so I also wanted to just talk a little bit more about who we are and like the journey of self discovery, because it literally is a journey. I shared a little bit about how I came into the discovery that I am creative just less than 2 years ago. And so as I continue on my journey of self discovery, there's other things that will come along that I'll begin to understand and know who I am in Christ. And so it's an exciting time. It is a journey, and so you walk as you're walking, as you're experiencing, as you're discovering. It's an amazing experience. Please forgive my dog; she's like barking, so I hope it's not a distraction. But I wanted to just talk a little bit about how identity. So some of our identity comes from our generations, our roots. Who we were born into. Some of our identity is developed as a result of our environment, our surroundings, our culture, things that we've experienced in life. But that does not necessarily mean that that's who you are authentically. That does not necessarily mean that that is who God has created you to be. And so let me give you an example. My family, pretty much everyone in my family, was a smoker. They smoked cigarettes. Some smoked other stuff too, but every mostly everyone has smoked cigarettes at some point in time or another. So I grew up in a family of smokers, okay? And so I began smoking at the age of 13. Um, young, right? But yeah, so I began smoking at the age of 13. And why? Because it was something that I was exposed to, it was something that I was around. And so in my mind, I just, it's a thing to do. This is what we do, right? And so, but I remember as I continued on in my smoking life, I really didn't like it. I didn't like the smell. There were times where people couldn't I couldn't smoke in my car, or if I did, I would hang my hand out the window with my cigarette so that it wouldn't be in the car. I took out the ashtray in the car so it wouldn't have that type of smell. I was always conscious of smelling like smoke in my hair and in my clothes. You know, I didn't necessarily like it, but I did it, right? Why? Because that was something that I inherited. It was something that was a part of my generation. It was something that I saw people in my family do, and so I picked it up and I did it. And so I smoked for years, years from 13, all the way up until probably about 28. I smoked. Now, I did stop in between those times where I became pregnant with my children, but the moment that I gave birth to them, I picked it back up. And it wasn't until 1999 that I was pregnant with my son, my last child, and I had already, kind of said that once I give birth to him, I'm going to start back up. Well, my dad came around. He came. I had, hadn't had any contact with my dad in a little while, and he gotten sick. He gotten terminally ill, and so he wound up moving from Hawaii back to California, and we found out that he had lung cancer. And so I watched my dad deteriorate quite rapidly as a result of lung cancer. And so he actually died, I think 2 weeks after, no, it was about a month after my son was born. And so once I watched him go through what he was going through, at that point I decided that I wasn't going to resume smoking. And so I stopped. But I picked it back up probably around 2009, 2010, when I hit a hard place in my life and I began to become stressful. I picked up and again, I was around a bunch of people that were smoking. And so I picked it back up again and I started smoking again. But again, remember, I didn't like it. I did not like smoking, and so I remember at one point, I was just like, "Wow, God!" Like in 2011 or 12, I was like, I smoked, I think, for about a year or two, and I kept trying to quit on my own, and it just wasn't working. And I cried out to God, and I was like, God, like I don't want to do this anymore. Like you have to take this desire away. I cannot do it on my own. And so I remember one night, I was watching my church online. They had this evening service called Detonate, and I was watching it. And I remember just that night, like God literally took the desire instantly away from me from smoking. And so from that point on, I have not smoked. I have not had the desire to smoke. And so that is an example. That was not necessarily being a smoker was not necessarily who God created me to be, but because of my environment, because of my surroundings, that's what I inherited. So that's an example of how our identity is developed, and that's why we gotta really get in touch and in tune with God, so that we can discover these parts of us that we've taken on that's not necessarily who He intended for us to be. Another example is when I was growing up. My mom used to use the dishwasher as a storage thing. We couldn't use the dishwasher to wash dishes, so we she stored grocery bags in there, the bags you get from the grocery store, and or like snacks. I remember chips being in there, and like Capri Suns and things like that. And so when I got at my first place at 18, what did I do? Right? I used my dishwasher as a storage, for the same reason. And so it got to a point where I think God started working on, me and discovering who Shermelle was as He created me to be. And I questioned, I'm like, why am I doing this? Like this, I don't even know why I'm doing this. I'm doing it just because my mother did it. And I'm pretty sure my mother's mother did it. And so it was just something that was carried on, right? And so I remember one day just like, I don't even know why I'm doing this. And quite frankly, if it doesn't have like a rhyme or reason as to why I need to do this, then I'm not going to do it. And I stopped doing it. And so even today in my home, I have a dishwasher and I use it from time to time. I don't use it all the time because it's just me and I don't, accumulate a lot of dishes. But when I have, people over or if I'm using a lot of dishes, I will absolutely use my dishwasher. Okay. And so there's no grocery bags in there. Okay. There's no chips in there. It is literally there to be utilized for its intent. So that's another thing. And so, this thing of self discovery is absolutely a journey, and we have to be open to discovering it. I remember my first job, my first real job working in a non Black organization. It was really diversified, and we used to have potlucks. And some of this food that I saw coming through, I had no idea what it was because if it wasn't fried chicken or ribs or, a roast and greens and, mac and cheese and cornbread. I wasn't fooling with it because I didn't know. I didn't know about it. It wasn't that I didn't like it. It was like I just didn't know about it. And so we have to be open to allow God to bring us into our true and authentic self. My mom is an amazing soul food cooker. Like my mom is the bomb.com. I actually wanted to open up a catering business because she can get down on some soul food. However, when it comes to anything else outside of soul food, it's not her, her area. And so I remember a couple of weeks ago we had a gathering over here, and I made some kind of salmon and some mixed vegetables. And these Facebook gives you all these wonderful recipes, and so I experimented because I just don't believe in sticking to soul food. There's so much more, to discover. There's more to discover. And so she ate it and she was like, wow, this is good, things like that. And so it kind of opened her up, to experience. So she went home and she made the salmon and she made the vegetables and she loved it. And so because I made a decision not to be stuck in my generational thing, if you will, that we only eat soul food and begin to expand. I now have my mom on the journey of trying something different and something new. Listen, it's okay, you know what I mean, to try things. I remember us going to the Bahamas and we had the tour guide take us to the best fish town, fried fish town in in the town, fried fish place in the town. So he took us and we ordering, they had on the menu, it had everything that you would see in LA at a corner fish market, right? So we ordered catfish or whatever kind of fish it was fried, and we ordered some other stuff. And when I tell you that that fish came out fried, but it had the head and the fins and everything on it, we was like, oh, and it was a lot of money. So my one of my daughters and I, we was like, you know what? We are here experimenting. We're open to new things. We're not just contained and stuck in what we know. So we ate the fish. We took the head off. We picked around the whatever. And when I tell you that fish was good, it was good. Okay. So it so coming into self-discovery is a journey, and you have to be willing and open to allow yourself to try and venture in new things. If you don't never try, if you just stay stuck in what you think that in this little box that you think that you're supposed to be in, you will never come into the full person that you are. How do you know what you like or what you don't like unless you try? I remember I never ate sushi. Mm-mm. No, 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 no. I will not be eating no raw fish today. You understand me? I didn't like the smell of it. I didn't like the seaweed, whatever. So 2 years ago, I tried some. I found out that they had baked and tempura, and so I tried that. And can I tell you that I love sushi now? Not the raw stuff, okay? It's got to be baked, baked lobster or tempura or a California roll, or I'll even do a little spicy tuna or whatever. But that raw fish, no. So, what I'm saying is, we have to be open to know who we are. There's so much more to us than just who we are, who our family says we are, who our generations say we are, who our environment says we are. And if you never step outside of your environment, you will never come into the full capacity of who you are and discover what your likes and your dislikes are. So I encourage even those, I know a lot of people that never have been outside of their city. Imagine that. No, there's a whole world out there that is to be explored, that is to be experienced. And so we don't want to limit ourselves because we don't know or it's not a part of our generation. You have to be the one that says, okay, hey, I am open. I'm willing to try something different. Let me come into the discovery of who I am. Who you never know. There may be something that your family never got involved in or you've never experienced, but it may be something that is a part of you. It may be something that God has placed on the inside of you that you like, and you come into discovery, and then now you can, teach your children and your children's children about being open minded to come into who you really are. So it is a journey, guys. And I just encourage you to be open minded and allow God to just have space in your life where He can begin to expand who you are. He can begin to take you on the journey of finding out who you are. All the gifts, all the talents, what you like, what you don't like, things like that, and begin to literally break off some of those generational cycles that so many of us are stuck in because this is what our family does. And let me just speak to those that have an issue or think that they're not going to be disloyal to not going along with family tradition and generations. Let me tell you, if you have that fear, I promise you, you're probably the one in the family that God has destined to be the one that breaks the cycles off of your family. So don't allow that fear to keep you boxed in and not go on the discovery and not be the one that blazes the trail for the rest of your family. So I encourage you, I encourage you, I encourage you. Be open minded and go on the journey with God of self discovery. All right. I hope that this blessed somebody. Again, if you have any questions, concerns, if you like the video, please comment, share with anybody that you feel that can benefit from this. I hope you guys have an amazing Wednesday. And again, be open minded and go on the journey of self discovery. All right, I'll talk to you later. Bye.